What is bad design in video games? That is a question with a million different answers, and today I want to talk about a single case of bad design that I created, why I think it's bad design, and how I intend to fix it. In my healer roguelike, Heal to Death, you have a number of spells with upgrades that heavily alter the use of the spell. One of these spells is Holy Light, a very simple single target heal with a crit modifier. And this spell has an upgrade that has been bothering me for over a month with just how awful it is. Engulfing Radiance. What this upgrade does is that it makes Holy Light heal more if you're close and heal less if you're further away. It's a fairly simple upgrade to understand, but it creates a lot of problems. Spatial awareness in 3D games is not something humans are particularly good at. While a player may over time get a general sense of what 10 meters looks like, the reality is that the only time you truly know you're within the 10 meter radius is when the spell goes off and it heals for more. I have a system where if you mouse over a spell icon, it will show the range of the spell. But this only shows whether or not the spell can be cast, not whether or not you're within the good range of the spell. One of the suggestions I got was to create a system to show the sweet spot. I chose not to do this because number one, it's a bit of engineering to implement in a hacky way and a lot of engineering to implement in a modular way. And number two, people aren't going to be mousing over the icons to determine the sweet spot before casting the spell in regular gameplay. So what ends up happening with this upgrade is that once you get it, you basically have to overcompensate and start moving very close to the target you want to heal in order to make sure that you don't get the downside. If someone has to overcompensate because the sweet spot is unintuitive, I think that's bad design. The idea of the upgrade came from the Holy Paladin in World of Warcraft. They have an attribute that increases healing done the closer they are to the target. This is much more of a progressive system where the best spot is obvious. It's literally being on top of the target. I don't like this because it creates a situation where you're always feeling like you're missing out on potential healing if you're not directly on top of the target. This heavily restricts your movement in the game, which I don't find fun. I like the idea that being close is beneficial, but I want some room to play around with before I feel punished for my positioning. This is the point of having a 10 meter radius. You have 10 meters to play around with. The problem is that you only get the feedback that you're playing correctly after the spell goes off. So, how do we remedy these two design considerations? So the answer is not to remove the downside of the upgrade. Not healing for 30% extra feels similar to healing 30% less. The answer is to change the downside of the upgrade. Holy Light heals for 30% more, but now has a 10 meter range. What this does is provide the player with immediate feedback of whether or not they are playing correctly. If you can't cast a spell because you're too far away, it's obvious what is wrong. It also provides enough leeway with positioning to not feel restrictive like in the case of the progressive healing modifier. This is technically a nerf to the upgrade, but it also kind of isn't. There are very few situations where you want to cast Holy Light at 30% less effectiveness. If you are 11 meters away from your target, in almost every single circumstance you would rather be told that you can't cast Holy Light rather than waiting 2.5 seconds only to find out that you healed for a lot less. The irony is that a nerf that makes a mechanic easier to understand is an improvement in the majority of circumstances. If you're interested in more in-depth discussions around niche game design topics, then leave a comment down below. If you wanted to give Heal to Death a try, I've updated the demo on Steam, so check it out with the link in the description.